All right, two things as we get started. First, for those of you who missed yesterday, what we did was on this pretest that I had given you, I went through the move estimator GUI and I went through the admission console projects. I did tape them. They're out on the YouTube channel, and it was about an hour long. AWD Chapters 1 through 4 Pretest Part 1. So what I promised that I was going to do for the period today was to go over the second one, all right, where you were asked to do the make change thing, all right. Now again, you two didn't hear this. I talked to Evan and we were talking electronically about the written tests. What we've decided to do is we're literally going to be about going over a chapter a week. So next week will be chapter 5. All right. On Monday, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass out to you the written test for chapter 5. You have to turn it in to me by Friday. Okay? It's due Friday. If you don't have it in by Friday, I don't care what the reason is. If you don't have it in, it's a 0. Okay? And that whole thing, all those tests are going to make up 15% of your grade. So that's what we're going to do from now on. All right? And right now we're going to go over this problem, and tomorrow you will take the test. There are 3 programs on the test. So the first program, basically, it's the kind of thing where we've done this before. So for example, imagine that you're asked to read in a number of miles, and then you have a constant that takes the miles, multiplies it by that constant, and it gives you the number of kilometers. That's pretty much what the first one is. All right. The second one, because I'm not supposed to tell you too much about it, you input something, and based on what you input, you output something else. All right. And the third one is also pretty much like that. In fact, the third one is kind of like the one we did as a class, where you asked how many t-shirts you wanted to buy and all that other stuff. But all 3 of them, all 3 are GUI apps. Every one. You're given a picture for all 3 as far as what they should look like, etc. Now, one thing, and I understand why Paul's doing this. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. It's not really that big a thing. But what you are going to do tomorrow is you are going to make one project. Call it something like Hot 1-4. All right, hands-on test 1-4. Then, like if this is the make change, when you get done, you will right mouse click on here and choose add, and you will choose new project. So all three of your projects will be in the same one. Does that make sense? If you have problems or can't do that, then raise your hand. Maybe we'll do it as a class, the first thing when I hand it out, because it'll take about literally a minute. Okay? Also, for you new people, I ask that you do 2 things when you get done. You may or may not be aware of this, but when you send any kind of an attachment here at Rankin, you're limited in size to 5 meg. Well, if you start putting in pictures and stuff, we haven't done that, but when you start putting, it gets big real fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask on this test that you try to take this file that'll have your all 3 projects in it, zip it, and email it to me. But just in case there's a problem tomorrow, I'm giving each one of you a flash drive. So you can copy it to your flash drive and give it to me that way too. I'd rather have 2 copies of everything you have than no copies of everything you have. All right? And the last thing I'll tell you is the school is really coming down on this. Not from you guys, but from other people. What I have been told is when you have a hands-on test, unless it's an emergency, someone misses, it's a 0. They can't make it up. All right? I was at a meeting when they were telling us that there are a lot of people, okay, somebody is sick. All of a sudden they're gone more than a week. You can't, for whatever reason. Now you can't give the other class back the test because that person hasn't taken it yet. You can't really even go over it yet because the class, and they don't want that. All right? So, again, if you're not here tomorrow, for whatever reason, then you can just plan on getting a 0. All right. Now, what I'm going to do here is, again, I've got this. I'm going to cut this size down, but I'm going to, as mentioned, I'm going to do that program where you ask the number of 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s that you have. Okay? And I've got in here, under my code, just the comment that explains what's supposed to happen in here. That's it. Make GUI, etc. All right? Now, if you remember when we did this one last time, when we did this, we came through here. I'm going to cut this down right now. And we came in and we did some constants at the beginning. Again, you may or may not remember. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to put in here program constants. Okay? And there's different ways that this can be done. Look at what it says we're supposed to do here for the program. All right? So create this. Have the maximum number of dollars you can enter be 1,000. Have the minimum number be 1. Okay? Now, last time we came in there, we did kind of the equivalent of this. We said, for example, const int 20 val equals 20. Remember that? We did something like that. Do we really have to do that? Okay, you can make a case one way or the other, but a 20 is a 20. And by putting 20 val there, is that making your program easier to understand than putting the number 20? I don't know. So this time, I'm only going to have two constants. I'm going to have min amount inputted, and that's going to be $1. And I'm going to have const int max amount inputted, and that is going to be $1,000. All right? So those are my two constants. That's all I'm going to put in there for constants. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to come in and start worrying about the GUI. Okay? You've already seen this, or something like this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to come in here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out exactly what do I want this thing to look like. You've seen me do this before, but I'm going to do it again anyway, and that is I'm going to put here like total amount. And this is going to be that number between 1 and 1,000, right there. All right? Then I'm going to have here like number 20s, and that'll go in here. Number 10s, and that'll go in here. Number 5s, and that'll go in here. And number 1s, and that'll go here. So for instance, if I were to put down, let's say, I don't know, 900 and some dollars, $939. All right, there would be 45 20s, that's 900. 3, that's 930. That's 935, and that's 938. Does that make sense to everybody? And I'll have my 3 buttons as we've had before. All right, so calculate, clear, and exit. Now, what should make sense to each and every one of you is this one, this one, this one, and this one. Those 4 are all read-only. They should either be labels or read-only text boxes. The only one we're actually entering something into is right here. All that makes sense? All right. So I'll leave it up there for just a second. And you can see me then just drag this stuff in. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 labels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 text boxes, and 3 buttons. And again, the order in which I put these in doesn't matter. So I'm going to just, for something different, what's going on there? I'm going to put in my buttons first this time, just to do something different. All right? So there's my 3 buttons. I'm going to grab all of them at once, make them a little bit bigger there and a little bit bigger there. All right? That's not perfect, but just eyeballing it, it doesn't look bad. All right? So my first one here, I'm going to come in and right away, I'm just going to change the name. So instead of button 1, this will be button calculate, and the text on here will be the word calculate. All right, this will be button 2, and the text on there will be clear, And the name of the button will be button clear. Finally, this last one, this will be button exit, and the text on there will be exit. That's all fine. I'm not worrying about making it bigger, smaller, anything like that, but that's fine. All right, so next I'm going to create my 5 text boxes. I'm just doing this in a random order. There's not really anything to it. So there's my first text box. All right, again, I'm eyeballing it, but I want to set the multi-line to true so I can a little bit jack with the size of it, okay? Again, not perfect, but that's, to me at least, that looks pretty much, probably thicker than I need it to be, but that looks good. All right. So, there's one. There's one. I think I've got one too many, and that's fine. I'll remove that. And there's one. And again, as I mentioned to you before, I'm just eyeballing this stuff. It's by no means is this perfect. Very far from perfect. But you can already see it's coming together, and it doesn't look terrible. All right? These right here, these 4, I'm just immediately going to come up to read-only, and I'm going to make them true. So those are read-only. Now, that looks really bad against here. It's hard to even see it. All right? You know what? Maybe that's a good thing. So I'll just leave it. I'm not even going to change the color here. All right? This one, I don't want to be read-only, and this will be text box amount inputted. All right, that's the one that has to be between 1 and 1,000. This will be text box num 20s. This will be text box num 10s. This will be text box num 5s. And finally, this will be text box num 1s. I'm asking this question. Is there anything that's there that doesn't make sense? Anything? All right. And I will, just because, I don't know, it's just a little too close in color for me. So I probably should have changed the name of the form. So this is form. I don't know what we call this. How about just money GUI? I don't care. And I should put some kind of a message here. All right. This will let the user input a dollar amount 1 through 1,000 and tell them the denominations. Okay, it's actually bigger than I should have made it, but that's fine. We'll just leave it like that. And I'm going to click on here, and I am going to just change the background color to another color. All right. Am I right in assuming everybody understands all that's been done so far? All right. So now I'm going to grab a label. Just a single label. Drag it out there. You already know this. You know about this. We've done it before. I'm going to come to the auto size property. Set it to false. And I want to make this about, if I can, about the same size as my text box. Again, is that perfect? Heck no. But it's not bad. And I'm also going to make this just so it's easier for me to manipulate it. One shade lighter there, or darker rather. So I've got that. Now I'm going to copy this. I don't know what happened to it. And I'm going to put that in there a few times. All right. Technically, and I think at least 1 or 2 of you know this already, you don't ever do any programming with your labels. So really, we could keep those called label 1, label 2. But just for consistency, since this one is called text box amount inputted, this one will be called label amount inputted. All right. This one then will be called label num 20s, label num 10s, label num 5s, finally label num 1s. All right. And I should change the text for all these because it's kind of hard to read right now. All right, so I'm going to change this to I don't know, money inputted. And I'm going to let the user know it should be between 1 and 1,000. Okay? Don't worry where it is or anything. We'll fix that in a second. And I'm going to change the text here to number of 20s. This one will change to number of 10s. This one will be number of 5s. And finally, the last one will be number of 1s. And the last thing I want to do is I want to quickly lasso all of these, and I'm going to change my text alignment so it's in the middle and right justified. Now, again, that doesn't look great, but it's not bad at all, I don't think at least. And this one, just kind of because I like to see the stuff in there centered, I'm changing the text align to center. All right? Have I done anything that anyone doesn't understand? Anything. You can all do this. Part of your grade tomorrow, there's a rubric on the back of the last page. It says you do this, you get 5 points. You do this, you get 3 points, etc. All right, so you'll know exactly how the thing is being scored, rather. All right, so I want to do about 2 or 3 more things. First, I'm going to just click in here and do a Control A, because that highlights everything. Right mouse click and choose Lock Controls. Now my interface has been locked into place. Okay, and that's fine. That's the first thing. Next thing, I want to reset the tab order. Now look at this. I actually did this on purpose. The tab order right now is really screwed up because I put the buttons in first. All right, now I can remove this. And I did that on purpose just to show you you can put your controls in any order you want. So I'm going to change the tab order. That will be first, then this, then this, then this. The rest of it doesn't even matter. But just so they have numbers, I'll click them anyway. So that's done. All right, and I'm going to do another view tab order so the numbers go away. I'm going to click on my form, and I'm going to do 3 things. Then we're ready to write code. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to start position, and I'm going to set that to center screen. All right. I'm going to go over to my cancel button as I'm working my way up here, and I'm going to set that to my button clear. Finally, I'm going to go up to my accept button, and I'm going to set that to my button calculate. All right. It's been a while, so I'm going to do a file, save all, and just run it. It's not operational. I just want to see what it looks like on the screen. It should be right in the middle now. And there it is. All right. Again, it's not operational. None of these buttons do anything. What I don't want you to do, all right, and I've said this kind of thing before. I'm going to tell you, you two maybe have heard this before. I don't know. But don't spend a lot of time making your interface. All right. You know, I once told the class, no joke, I said, you know what, I could teach a monkey to make an interface. And in a half an hour, probably could do it as well, if not better than me. Right after that class, one of the students went upstairs. I got called in my boss's office and said I called the class monkeys, which I never did. And I mean, I just was sitting, I have no idea what they were talking about. So the next day I asked the teacher to come in, and I said, now, I don't know which one of you went up and talked to the instructor or to my dean and said I called you monkeys. I didn't, but just in case, I'm walking out. You go tell him to go ahead and tell him right in front of the whole class. And from what I heard from people in the class, whoever it was, they knew who it was. But the one guy yelled effing liar, all right, and it got real bad after that. So, All right. Point is, I don't think any of you are dumb. I just think you shouldn't waste time on the interface. But I would look at it and say, okay, this is worth this many points. I'd start looking at that stuff. All right? So we've got that. You already know this. There'll be the code for our calculate button. There will be the code for our clear button. There will be the code for our exit button. All right? Just like I did yesterday. For right now, I'm just going to put in, when we click the exit button, we're just going to say application.exit. We're done. All right? When we click the clear button, what do we want to do? Clear this, clear this, clear this, clear this, clear this. Put the cursor there. Okay? So let's do that. And look, I called it amount instead of amount. Boy, that's bright. Dot text equals double quote, double quote. I'm just going to leave it. Text box num 20s dot text equals double quote, text box num 10s dot text equals double quote, text box num 5s dot text equals double quote, text box num 1s dot text equals double quote, and text box amount inputted dot focus. That should be everything. Let's double check. All right. I'm going to run it. Remember that since right now it's read only, that's the only place I can put anything. All right. But if I click clear, okay, it did disappear. I'm going to just take for granted the rest of it's okay. All right. And I'm going to, and my exit works. So the only thing that's left is calculate. I would suggest, how people do this is up to them. One of the things, if you remember, that I did yesterday was I identified what are my constants. Then I identified what are my variables. Then I identified what are my inputs. Then I identified what are my outputs. Finally, I identified what am I processing. What's in the middle. All right? Okay. So one thing I want to do then is I have to come in. I'm going to make some variables in here. All right. So I'm going to come in and say what? Int dollar amount equals 0. Int number 20s equals 0. Int number 10s equals 0. Int number 5s equals 0. Int number 1s equals 0. Does everybody understand? Look on the screen, please. These things right here, those are these. All right? So the first thing I want to do then is I want to read in my amount. So I'm going to come in here. Remember what we don't need that, so we're going to come in here. We're going to say what? Well, we're hoping they already put a number in there when they click the calculate button, right? What if they put nothing in there, or what if it's empty? That's the same thing. What if it's empty? Okay, that's the only thing we're going to check for. So, in other words, if it's empty, we're going to say here, if text box dollar amount, what we call it, text box, it's amount inputted, that's it, amount inputted dot text, if it equals nothing, okay, you with me? If there's nothing in there, all right, well, what can we do? We could give them an error message, correct? We could give them an error message. But I'm not even going to do that. This might sound weird, but I'm going to say return, which means get out of the routine. There's nothing to do. All right? So then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, okay, I'm assuming now there's a value in there. Okay? So what I'm going to say is that dollar amount that's equal to convert.int32 to this thing. So I'm taking what was in there and I'm converting it to a whole number. All right? I'm not asking you, I'm telling you that. So what do I want to do? Well, I've got to validate that dollar amount is in range. In other words, it's between 1 and 1,000. All right, so if the dollar amount, and I'm just going to be, you're going to look at this and go, why aren't you doing more? You'll see why in a second. If the dollar amount is less than the min amount inputted, or the dollar amount is greater than the max amount inputted, all right, guess what I'm going to do? I'm just going to return. I'm not even going to give them a message, but I'll take that amount, that dollar amount, and I'm going to reset it to 0, okay, and I'm going to go back to this thing, because that's where it's holding the dollar amount. I'm going to set that to nothing. All right. I'm going to give it the focus. And pardon my French, I'm going to get the hell out. All right. So let's see. Text box amount inputted dot text. Oh, okay. I've got to, we'll fix it in a second, okay? What I want is I don't want this here to be a bool, but I can do that. I can just change it. This will be return false. Bool means I have to return true or false. I'll return false. All right. Otherwise, I can keep going. Well, why doesn't it like this? Oh, because there's 2 equal signs instead of 1. There we go. There we go. So in other words, I come in here and I'm looking at all this stuff. Okay, now I goofed that up, but we'll fix it. All right. So we come in here and we say if there's nothing in there, we just get the heck out. All right. Otherwise, there's something in the first text box. So we set that to dollar amount, then we validate it. If it's not valid, then boom. All right? So if we get to this point, the amount in the text box is between $1 and $1,000. Okay? That's good. So I'm going to have actually 2 amounts in here. I've got my dollar amount, and then I'm going to put in here int current amount. I'm going to put that in there too. You'll see what that is literally in a second. All right. This is very similar to the one we did in class earlier. So what are my number of 20s? Remember, it's my what? It is my dollar amount divided by 20. So again, if it was $900, it would be 900 divided by 20, so my number of 20s would be 45. All right? But now I want to throw away that amount. So in other words, my amount, what did I call it? Amount left? Current. How about amount left? I like that better. Call it amount left. So now my amount left, that is equal to my dollar amount modulo 20. All right, so then this becomes pretty doggone simple. Next, I want to do the number of tens. So the number of tens is equal to what I have left modulo or divided by 10, and now the amount I have left is the amount I have left modulo 10. Then I can go down and do the same exact thing again, but for 5s. And then finally, now what's left here, this, believe it or not, that is my number of 1s. So now I've got everything. So all I have to do is to take these numbers that I just calculated and put them in this text box, this text box, this text box, and this text box. That's it. All right. That equals number 20s dot toString. Okay. Let's see, give me that. String to, oh, that's dot text. All right. In fact, I'm just going to copy this. This will be my number of 10s, my number of 5s, my number of, I guess there's only 4 of them, number of 1s. This will be the number of 10s. This will be the number of 5s. This will be the number of 1s. All right. Could there be a mistake? Sure. Let's check, though. Yes, there was. Oh, what I have to do is down at the bottom here, at the very bottom, I have to return true. Right? Did that get rid of all my errors? Oh, something has the wrong return type. This is not good, because that is in the designer where I told you should never be playing with stuff here. Yeah, you know what? I don't understand how this happened. See how that one says bool? I don't know why it says that. It should have said void. That's what it should have said. And this should just be return. This should just be return. And this I don't even need because it automatically returns. Let me try running it again, see if I made it better or worse. All right, so what did we say? 938. Okay, 46. Yeah, that makes sense. 46, not 45. That's 920, 930, 935, 938. That makes sense? I can hit escape. That all works. If I put in a number that's out of range, notice all we do is get rid of it. We leave it blank. We just basically should come in here. Let's see, it might break. We'll see. No, I guess I did, when I left it blank, I don't think I reset the focus. So, 3, 4, 5. 17 times 20 would be 340, and 5 is 345. Let's make it 359. 17 is 340, 10 is 350, and 5 is 355, and 4 is 359. I'm asking the question right now. Does that make sense? If you can go back and look at any of the programs we've done and redo them, all right, you should be fine for this test. Again, there will be 3 problems. Every problem is a GUI. Any questions on this one? Yes. Yes. You're right, but make change is a crummy name for it. Basically what we're saying is this amount you put in here, okay, you may or may not agree with this. What's the least number of builds I can have to make that up? The most builds that I can think of that I could have for that would be 359 singles. Right? $1 bills. But that would be pretty hard to get in a wallet. No, all kidding aside. But this, 17, 18, 19, 23 bills. Could you put all that in there? I don't know. we could even up this because, for example, we could have had a number of $100 bills. I think there's a $500 bill. All right. I know there's a $1,000 bill because my grandfather once showed me one. All right. Is there bigger ones than that? I don't have any idea. But also notice that when we do this, if I put in here, let's just say $14. See how I get a 0? That's got to be like that. That's correct. 10, no 5s, and 4 1s. So that should be working. All right. And again, the clear works, the exit works. It will be expected. I will expect that you can handle the exit. You really should bring up that dialog box like we've been doing. You've got it on a bunch of your programs. You should be able to handle a clear routine. All right. Does anybody have any questions on any of this stuff? All right. And I'm being, I think, decent. If you have not turned in the 2 assignments for Lab 1 and 2, end of the period. They're not in, it's a 0 in the book. All right? And the other ones for Chapters 3 and 4, those are due tomorrow by the end of the period. You have 3 hours right now to work on those.
What was the other one?
The other one was that packet where each one was on its own page. It's about 8 pages long or 4 pages front and back.
And the other one was lined up.
Yes. Right. Is there anybody who doesn't have any of those assignments? All right. I'm going to go downstairs and get a drink. I'll be right back. This water is not doing it this morning. So I will be back in just a couple minutes.